how did you start as an investor?
I was at university and I was going to go to law school and medical school and business school. I was a confused young man, like many people when they're 21 years old. And I stumbled onto a job on Wall Street just because I liked the guy. I didn't know anything about Wall Street. But I suddenly fell in love because this was a place where they would pay me to know what was going on in the world. And my passion at the time was the world and to know everything I could about what was going on. And I couldn't believe it. They would pay me. And they would pay me a lot of money if I did it right.
And what did you do in that first job?
Oh, the first job, I was a research assistant. I mean, people would send, in those days, they'd send in telegrams. They'd say, does General Motors pay a dividend? And I would look it up and say, yes. You know, simple questions. But I quickly fell in love and did not go to law school or business school or medical school. I went to Wall Street.
Yeah, and did you invest your own money then?
Well, I didn't have any money then. I was poor, still am, but I was really poor in those days. And as soon as I could save enough money, yes, I started investing.
Do you remember if you had a goal then, or did you just
No, yeah, I had a very
invest?
clear goal. My goal was to retire by the time I was 35. I wanted to have more than one life. I didn't want to wake up when I was 75, still be in the stock market. I wanted to have other careers and other lives. So I hoped that I could, I mean, this is a crazy dream, but this was my dream when I was 26, to retire by the time I was 35 and go and have other lives.
And how did you accomplish that?
Well, I failed. I retired when I was 37. I didn't make it when I was 35.
Oh, terrible.
I worked hard. I never worked. I just loved getting up in the morning and going to the office and getting involved with the market. This was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful excitement for me. So I and my partner at the time both loved what we were doing. We were very intense about it. And I did the research, he did the trading, and we were successful.
As long as investing is concerned, are there any lessons that you really learned in that starting period?
Oh yeah, I learned many things. After I'd been in the business a couple of years, I made a lot of money, and then I thought, gosh, this is easy. And so I waited for the market to, I was selling short. I waited for the market to rally. I took all my money and sold short, and within 2 months I was wiped out. I lost everything. And it was because I knew what I was doing about the companies, but they all went bankrupt eventually. But in the meantime, they all skyrocketed. I didn't have staying power, so I lost everything. I realized how much I did not know about markets, about other people's emotions, about how other people felt in the market. So I realized there was a great deal I needed to learn. There still is, but especially in those days, that markets are not rational, and you need to factor that in. Eventually they're rational, but there are many times...
What did you change in your tactic then?
Then I started learning that I'm always early, that I see things earlier than other people. I assume everybody sees the same thing that I do. I now know they don't. So now I try to wait. If I look out the window and see something, I say, I better wait. I better wait a year before I act, or even 2 years. And I still do try to wait, and I'm still always early. So I've learned that I am very bad at market timing. I've learned that I'm very bad short-term trader, and I doubt if I'll ever be good at it, but I'm trying to improve.
So you're still investing for the long term?
Oh yeah, I got to pay my bills, and so that's the only thing I know to do, or how to do. So
but do you still need to invest? Because
I got to pay my bills. You know, I got to pay the rent. I got to buy the groceries somehow. So yes, how else am I going to do it? I couldn't get a job. Nobody would hire me.
Yeah.
And if they could hire me, I couldn't keep a job.
There are people that stop with everything when they're 71.
Yeah, but what am I going to do with it? How am I going to pay the bills? Turn the money over to you to manage for me? No, I have to do something to have income to pay the rent.
And do you trade every day?
No. I rarely trade. Brokers don't like me, Janneke, because I'm so inactive. You know, I might buy something, and the broker 10 years later saying, are you ever going to sell? You know, I want more commissions. No, I'm not a very good customer, because I trade very, very rarely.
Yeah, how often approximately?
Well, I don't know. I never thought about it. Maybe once a month, once a quarter. I don't know. I mean, they're not that. If you're a short-term trader, yeah, there are lots of ideas. But I'm not, so there are not a lot of ideas that are good ideas that people can find. Yeah. Most good investors don't do anything. Most of it, they just wait. They wait for their investments to mature, or they wait till they can find something new. You know, I like to wait until, if I look over in the corner and there's some money over there, I like to do something.
Yeah, because how do you decide where you're going to invest in? Do you read a lot? Do you go to countries?
Read a lot. I read a lot. I do travel a lot, not looking for investments, but doing other things. I see something, then I act. I read a lot. I certainly read a lot. I don't have...
You get your ideas in day-to-day life?
Yeah.
You just see something on the street?
Oh, reading, yes. Well, yeah, getting off an airplane or walking into a country, or from reading, from the internet. There's all kind of information these days on the internet. I don't have a television, I'm sorry to say. I don't talk to stockbrokers. It's just from life and reading. It's where I find my ideas.
And are you invested in shares right now?
I have shares in some countries, yes.
Yeah, not just in commodities.
Oh, no. I've never been, I don't think I've ever been all in one asset class. I always have more than one thing.
Yeah, because how do you value shares compared to commodities and compared to credit, for example?
Well, it depends on the circumstances at the time. Sometimes commodities are much cheaper than other things, or even like now, some commodities are very cheap. Not all commodities are very cheap now, and some shares are very cheap. The New York Stock Exchange is making all-time highs. It's not cheap. But if you look at some place like Russia or even Tokyo or China, there's some things that are very cheap. The Japanese stock market is down 70% from its all-time high. So it's probably cheaper in Tokyo than it is in New York. That's a place to start. And then if I find something in Tokyo, then I might buy it.
Yeah. What are you buying at the moment?
I bought some Japanese shares recently. I bought SAS in Scandinavia recently. I bought some yen. I bought a Japanese share. Recently, I've been hedging the currency in Japan when I buy shares. This time, last week, I bought a Japanese company, and I didn't hedge the currency because there's so many people short the yen right now. And normally, when you have everybody on one side of the boat, you should go to the other side of the boat at least for a while.
To get your ideas, do you also sometimes get in touch with other well-known investors?
No, I have found that when I get ideas from other people, I nearly always make a mistake. So I have learned, I try to discipline myself that if I hear something from you or anybody, that I try to ignore it and not act on it, because most of the time when I follow someone else's suggestions, I have lost money.
If you would start all over again, and you had some money, and you have to build it all up again, and you start investing now, what would you do?
Well, first of all, I would try to know that I'm usually early. I would not have made that mistake that I made a couple of years into my career where I lost everything because I didn't know about markets. So now I would try to get my timing better. But other than that, I don't think I would do much different in the markets.
Well, it's been said that we are entering a new era full of different values. Do you think that's true? And do you think that because of that, market principles have changed?
Market principles have not changed at all. We are in the world is always changing. You can look back at any time in history, Janneke, pick a year, and then look at the world 15 years later. It's entirely different from what people, look at 1960. No matter what people thought in 1960, 15 years later, oh my gosh, look at 1990. No matter what people thought in 1990, 15 years later, the world was dramatically different. That has happened throughout history. So the world is always changing. Are the principles the same? The principles are still the same. You buy low, you sell high, you do not jump in with a crowd, you do not follow manias and bubbles. Those principles are the same. The world still needs good judgment and rewards good judgment and the people who do their homework. That will never change.
Financial experts are forecasting a down year for precious metals. Gold has been high on 1900 in 2011, and since then actually declined a lot. It's now about $1,200, silver about 20, a little bit below. They've both declined a lot. Do you think that the prices will go up again?
Well, I own both. I'm not buying now because I am looking for another time, a better time, or another time to buy gold and silver sometime in the future. It may not happen. If it doesn't, it's okay. I own both at the moment, but I am waiting for another time to buy both.
And what signals are you looking for then?
Despair. Right now there's still a lot of gold bugs who think that gold is holy, it cannot go down, that they'll never sell their gold. When they give up and there's despair in the market and they say, I never want to own gold again, I hope I'm smart enough to buy.
Are you looking for that despair in newspapers and magazines or websites?
Well, it'll be everywhere.
Or how do you know?
I'll get emails. It'll be on the internet. It'll be on the television. It'll be on the prices will be collapsing. It'll be in the newspapers. It'll be everywhere.